So I want to do a check-in. I'm also going to pull a card from this deck, so stay tuned. We're going to have a pick a card reading to hopefully provide you some encouragement and some hope at this time. I am constantly in conversation with clients and myself, and it just felt compelled to come on here and just be the honest voice of reason and talk through it. So you want to get a little bit deeper into what is going on right now, why you're feeling so much right now in this 9-year. Already, it feels like we have lived a lifetime. Then keep watching. Oh my gosh. Hello and welcome to Nic With Love. I'm Nicole. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I wanted to do a check-in. We're in the month of March now, and oh man, we are in the middle of a 9-year, and I actually talk about the 9-year, and I suggest you go watch that video and find out what your personal year is for 2025. But this year is a 9-year, and a 9-year is really about endings. And like I said, it's the Tower card is how I'll put a picture here. This is what this 9-year is representative of in the Tower card. Today, we're going to dive deep into the emotional weight of this universal 9-year. And trust me, if you've been feeling everything all at once, you are not alone. This year is stirring up some deep truths, which is what a 9-year does. It's forcing us to release and to reflect and to reckon with the past. I think of a 9-year as karma is coming to collect, and it's also like a life review, and you can't unsee. You see everything is under review in a 9-year, a universal 9-year. We're also seeing the same energy play out in politics, in society, and in our communities right now. And I think that's the direction that I really want to take in this video, is kind of talk about the politics, the politicking that's going on, and why is it seemingly so intense when it comes to politics. I feel that the government system that is in place, that is structured, is one that really does keep us in a fear-based mentality. It's a system that is not designed to help individuals. It's really hard to have an overarching system that can pinpoint or laser focus, providing the support that every single individual in this country of the United States of America, speaking from my perspective, but this is on a global scale. If you step out and look beyond the country that you're in, there are massive shifts and changes going on politically all over the world. And the timing of it is just perfection in providing a real life experience, maybe experimentation, a case study of some sort, and seeing how energetics play out and how they impact and influence us on an energetic level. So with that, I really want to ask you, how are you holding up? What emotions have been coming up for you lately? Are you giving yourself the space to actually process them? Or are you just pushing through? And I ask that knowing that we're in the cycle that won't let us avoid the truth anymore. So you pretending like you don't feel how you feel, or maybe spiritually bypassing, leaning into high vibes only. I'm putting blinders on, and what have you. And I think it's okay to protect your peace depending on what you have going on in your life. But I also think it's also very, very crucial and important to be honest about how you're feeling into the life and the world that we live in, that you live in specifically. This nine energy, it also may feel like you're carrying a weight you didn't even sign up for. And I remember one of my I really do trust her insight in how energetically connected she is on reading the energy. And she said the end of December that by the time we get to February, that it was going to feel like we had lived a lifetime. And oh my God, I know what she means. And now we're in March, and it's just like the level of intensity, the way things have moved so quickly, it's just a bit unnerving. And I can call that out with myself. It's just kind of like, oh my gosh, that was fast. Things are moving really, really quickly. And when you think of a 9 year, things do tend to move very quickly at one point. So think of how things are coming to a head. I feel like we're in this momentum of things coming to a head. So there's this buildup. And the tower has not even fallen yet. I think the tower is going to start to fall this month. And I think we're going to start seeing the tower, I feel, is on fire right now. I feel that there's some people that are abandoning ship right now. There's some people that are trying to hold on and hold out. But the tower is going to really start to crumble. It's starting to be under attack by people who are looking at this tower, and they are realizing that this tower is really creating this energetic siphon of negativity, and from the standpoint of negativity in leaning into the energy of fear, leaning into cultivating an environment that is very discouraging, very disempowering, and what have you. And I think that's where it's so important to feel how you feel and to acknowledge how you feel. Don't acknowledge, don't avoid it, don't bypass how you feel. It's so important, it's so crucial. Don't get caught up in this toxic positivity, like everything is good, everything is working out for my highest good. Yes, and how are you feeling about where you are right now? Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. I think it's so important to be honest with yourself. 9 is the number of endings. It's the closing chapter before we start a new cycle, which 2026 will be a 1 year signifying new beginnings and things of that nature. And so you kind of see how we're transitioning right now into that new beginning. You're starting to see, oh, okay, there are some new beginnings, some things that need to be started anew again. And it also, in this 9 energy, it brings up unfinished business. And there's personal, there's generational, and there's societal unfinished business that is playing out right now when we speak from a political standpoint. This year is about release. It's also a reminder, when you think of release, before you release something, you have to face it. And there's a lot of us right now that are confronting these old wounds, these like our past choices and outdated beliefs and systems and deep emotions we thought we had already dealt with. That's what's coming up. It's that life review. It's that karma is coming to collect. It's like, hey, this is what you've put in. This is where you are. And just sitting with it. That's what a 9 year is really, really about. It's very bruising. It can pick at the old scabs because it's like confronting old wounds, really looking to see how these wounds are healing. Have they healed? Are they like infiltrating other parts and systems of your body because they're not in a healthy state, and just acknowledging, we're really being forced to really acknowledge and look at things. You may also notice that nostalgia, your sense of nostalgia is really kind of like, you're just like, oh my God, I remember then, I remember that. Can't we just go back to this? And no, you can't. We can't go forward. We can't go back. We can only go forward. One thing I love about nostalgia is sometimes we leave behind things that we think are no longer serving. And sometimes we need to find a way to integrate those things that we've left behind, because we recognize in leaving them behind, we have missed, there's been a misstep in some instances, and in some ways, and it's kind of playing out in that way. It's not just personal, right? Is what I meant. It's not just personal. This is on a collective level. So we are in a universal 9 year. And for those of you that are also in a personal 9 year, how are you guys doing? I know the level of intensity is probably felt very intensely for those group. I have a client who is in a personal 9 year, and so much has happened for her in such a short period of time. And I've been really encouraging her to sit with her feelings and looking at the things that have played out. Again, go look at the other videos. I'll try to put a link down below to figure out what your personal year is. It really goes into detail about what your personal year is, and how that universal 9 year really does influence and impact your energetics when it comes to what you have going on in terms of your personal energy for 2025. When you look at what's happening politically, and you take a step back in terms of like an 8 year. 8 year is all about like manifestation and inner like authority and things of that nature. And 8 year is about this cycle of you're coming to an end of a completion of a cycle, right? And so 2024 was a very pivotal election cycle from a political standpoint, here in the United States, not just in the US. There was other countries around the world. And the weight of that is still settling in. We're watching these institutions, we're watching leaders and entire systems being called to account for how they're engaging in the world. You're seeing people call it out. And this is what a 9 year does. It brings up the unresolved, the ignored, the swept under the rug truths. And that's why you had a lot of people in that 8 cycle that were seeking to manifest a new experience. They voted the way that they did because they felt ignored. They had some unresolved issues from a political standpoint. They really did feel that there were some things that were swept under the rug type of truths here. And that was the catalyst. Now we are seeing also too kind of playing out those seeds that were planted, because we're also moving into the spring. And so there were a lot of seeds that were planted right before the winter. There were some seeds that have been reactivated, and we're going to see what that reactivation looks like. And the gifting of that, it may be a bit unnerving to see, oh my gosh, why are these things here? Thought these things had been weeded out. And the 9 year gives us with the opportunity to see how there's seeds that are still lingering in the ground, seeds that are still lingering in consciousness, essentially, and we get a greater understanding of why. I think that's the power of a 9 year. And I think that is the path to purpose that I see in this cycle. I knew that we were going to be here, just energetically, just reading the room. Honestly, just reading the room. There were so many people that felt so ignored, that felt really ignored, and felt like they were being called to take action in a way that just didn't feel that great in taking action and aligning themselves in that way. So there was this misalignment essentially that went into the last political process that we just went through. And because of that misalignment, we are where we are. So some examples of what you can see going on, there's long-standing political issues that are bubbling over. You see people are starting to question systems and policies and leaders more than ever. And there's this growing divide that those who want to cling to the past versus those who are pushing for change. They see that we're at the end of a cycle, and there's this identification of the things that they don't want to bring into this new world, this new way of being and living, and how things are politicked and what have you. There's also, with that, you're seeing this emotional intensity that is at an all-time high. And I think people are much more sensitive. And I think it's even more important to be honest about how you're feeling about things, as well as pausing and breathing into how you're feeling. Pausing and breathing before you respond to someone else that may be acknowledging how they're feeling about something. I think it's a time of breathing in a way that we may need to look at how we have been avoiding breathing and sitting with things, and maybe a need to look at how you're breathing and how you thought that you were breathing is not really in the fullest capacity of you fully breathing into your body and your life in such a way. And I mean that physically and also metaphorically. I'll let you pick apart the metaphorical versus the physical part of what I just said. So when you see what's happening, just watching what's happened politically, happening in politics, there's some themes that I'm pretty sure you've seen kind of playing out. Endings, reckonings, and exposure. We're starting to see deep-rooted issues rise to the surface, truths that can't be ignored anymore. Corruption, power struggles, the collapse of old systems. And this is 9 energy forcing that change. It's that 9 energy doing that required life review, looking at how things are playing out, looking at the choices that are being made that feed into these structures that are in place and are powering people's lives in empowering ways and also maybe in some disempowering ways as well. There's also a lot of fear-based rhetoric. People are clinging to the past. They're trying to maintain control in a system that is crumbling. And I think it's important to be honest about how you are experiencing, where you fall on that scale of the rhetoric, how it's impacting you, how it's influencing you, how is it maybe manipulating you in a way that is a bit off-putting as well. So just being honest. Here's the thing, pay attention. Pay attention. Who is doubling down on outdated ways? Who is stepping into new ways of thinking? Look at how people are galvanized in such a way. I don't know which video I said this. I don't know if I said this on my channel or on the Alchemist and Oracle channel, but I really feel that we have gotten to this level of awareness and understanding that one of the systems in place that is very fractured is community. Our communities are fractured. And there's been this wonderful revelation, this realization of that structure, that system in place that has really been destroyed or deteriorated or non-existent. And people are recognizing the power and the purpose of being in community, and people are starting to rebuild their community. People are focusing on where they live and connecting with the people around them, and checking on their neighbors and ensuring that their neighbors are aware of resources that are available within their community that they may have not known to be available. I feel there's less gatekeeping of knowledge and people feeling emboldened and rebelliously so screaming out from the rooftops, you have more power, you have more access to things than you realize. I think it's really calling people into action to stand up and to be that change agent that they recognize that this 9 year is really compelling and calling people to step up and to step out in that way. So I think that's the hope of where I am when it comes to that. I'm super excited about that too. So one thing that, with that, how can you be more grounded in your community? Because when you feel a sense of safety and security where you live, you can control the environment that you live in some capacity. And that may be like just knowing your neighbors. Maybe it's like volunteering so you can get to know your neighbors, volunteering in a way of grounding and connecting yourself, maybe volunteering to feel that you're being more purposeful when you may not know how to be. It's finding ways to empower yourself forward without really getting caught up in this fear-based rhetoric that is really being pushed forward, because people in power are recognizing that this shift is happening, that the tower is being under review, that the tower's foundation has a crack in it. That's where we are. The crack has been activated and we can't go back. We can't go back. Once the foundation is poured in any structure, it's poured. You can go back and you can try to repair it, but it's never going to be as strong as it could have been had it been poured appropriately at any given time. That's one option. And then another is that sometimes it just erodes through the natural shift in the climate. And I think the climate has shifted. And that's where we are with this 9 energy. And this 9 energy is just everything is on fire because the 9 energy has such a level of intensity. It picks at those wounds. And it can be very bruising and wounding and just unnerving at this time. That's what 9 energy does. That's why I wanted to do a check-in. I really wanted to check in and just kind of remind you what's going on and hopefully provide you a sense of empowerment as well. So what do we do with all of this? Because I think it's one thing to understand it, and it's another thing to know how to navigate it without draining the life out of you, like out of us, out of we. So I think it's about being honest and asking, like, how do we move through the emotional weight of this cycle? I think it's important to acknowledge the emotional weight of this cycle to begin with. And from that, how can we move through the emotional weight of this cycle without letting it consume us? That's the consumption part of it. And I think it's also being aware of what is it that you're consuming. What are you consuming and how is it consuming you? I think it's so important to question everything at this time. I think it's so important to be curious about things. I think it's so important to pause and breathe before you speak, before you express, before you respond at this time. Things are not what they seem. Things that you think may be this way may actually evolve to be something else. Just being aware of this transition that we're in, this power dynamic that is greatly, there's this fight for maintaining a level of control. and things just aren't working. We're moving into a new cycle, and the planetary alignment say it. Every astrologer has said it in so many different ways. And I wanted to do a check-in for the month of March, because the month of March is a month of looking at the seeds that have been planted. Because when you think of March, I think of my garden. Right now, my bulbs are starting to come up. My bulbs are starting to come up, and I'm not entirely sure if all of them are going to come up. I'm not entirely sure what is what. I may think they may come up this way. They may be this color or that color, but I don't know. I also have I think of, I always look at how gardening is such a reminder of the cycles of life, and it's a spiritual, um, it's a case study for sure. It's a parable in spirituality. But I think of my hydrangea plant that's blooming. I don't know which stem is going to have blooms if not. And it's just, we're in this really challenging period of maintaining hope and seeing where things are going to land. We're at this point of it gets worse before it gets better. When you think of when you're sick and you start receiving some type of holistic treatment, a homeopathic treatment, a lot of times it's working because it gets worse before it gets better. And so things are going to get intense. There's going to be this buildup of intensity. And then from that tower is going to woo. But guess what? From the tower comes this new beginning. If that is what can help you to maintain a sense of peace and maintain a sense of hope, then lean into that. And because I'm not about spiritual bypassing, I'm not about toxic positivity, because it doesn't work. You just get stuck in this loop. Acknowledge how you feel. This is really hard for me right now. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling disappointed. I'm feeling pissed off. I'm angry. But I'm hopeful that I will be able to shift away from that. Because one of the things that I find that's so empowering is being honest about how you're feeling. You start to have a sense of release. There's this weight that you feel is lifted. You unburden yourself in the expression and the acknowledgement of how you're feeling. That's the path forward. That's what we can do with all of this. So first, pause, breathe, acknowledge what's coming up without trying to fix it right away. And ask yourself from there, what am I still holding on to that no longer serves me? What is it? Then from there, if you need permission, give yourself permission to let yourself grieve. And the loss, just acknowledge the loss that you are recognizing that's unfolding. Old versions of yourself, past beliefs, even relationships that you may recognize no longer fit. And then here's the thing, what I was saying, the bigger picture, the hope of the new beginning. Stay aware of the bigger picture. Don't get caught up in the chaos. Focus on what you are here to release and shift. Focus on what you specifically in this universal 9-year can find a way to tune your energy, and being honest with meeting it where you are with what it is. How can you find a way to look at the bigger picture, to not get caught up in the chaos and really focus on you? What can you release and shift? What is no longer serving for you that you identify? That's the time of this. And remember, this is preparation. The next cycle, 2026, is a universal 1 year. A 1 year is all about new beginnings and fresh starts. But we can't move forward carrying all this old weight. We gotta unburden ourselves. So again, acknowledge what's rising. Then from there, let go of what's done, set emotional boundaries, anchor into your personal power, and then prepare for what's next. That would be how you get to aligning your energy. And the truth is, this energy isn't here to break you. I think, some people say, oh, it's so purposeful. There's a reason everything happens. Everything happens for a reason. Yes, it does. But it's also not here to break you. I don't believe that anything is here meant to break you. They may want you to, that may be their intention in the manipulation of the energy. The powers that be, as they say, that are no longer aligned with God, the higher source energy, the God of my understanding that is unconditional love and compassion and grace and mercy. That is the God that I speak of when I say God, because I recognize some people say God, and that is not the God of their understanding. And that's their business, that's their place, that's their choice. So I'm going to pull 3 cards here. I'm going to shuffle the cards. Okay. 1, 2, 3. It is called to pull 4 cards. So this is how you engage in this. I have these 4 cards here. What I want you to do is ask yourself, what message do I need to hear right now? What message do I need to hear right now? So we have card 1, card 2, card 3, and card 4. So tune in, trust yourself, and select your card at this time. Okay. Card 1. Here we have this card. Card number on here is 22. And it says, this is not your practice life. Decide. And the question is, what is your inner voice telling you about the dream in your heart? This card is the reminder of the hope, seeing the bigger picture, not getting caught up in the fact that things are death and destruction, right? And that is definitely so what is going on. This message here is that you get to decide what you want to bring forth. What's the dream? What's the dream? What's the hope? What's the hope? I think this 9 year can really provide you with looking at the things that may have kind of set you off, and you're feeling a little disarmed at this time. And this card is the reminder to remember what it is that you dream of. What's the dream that you have? Hold that in your heart. Allow that to be your guiding star at this time, because for some of you, you may be in this swirling of chaos. The energy is just swirling around and it's consuming. And the reminder is, let that be as it is, but don't forget that you have a dream, you have hopes, and just remind yourself of the hope and hold that in mind while things are going on in the world, and you'll start to feel a greater sense of peace at this time. Number 2, card number 2, it says, out of the woods, you've made it through. What newness is emerging? So for some of you, this has been something that there's a level of excitement that you have. I think you are eager to leap into this ending and what have you, because you've recognized the need for something to change. And so you really are in, you may be going through it, but there's a level of relief. There's a level of hope right now because you're out of the woods. You've made it through. And so you may be a little bit further ahead than other people, and lean into that. Focus on what it is that you have, what has pulled you through out of the woods. And I sense too, I think with this card kind of following the first card here, the reminder is it's so empowering to look at other people and to see like, oh, they made it through. Oh, okay, there's hope for me. And a lot of times that's why they say like, focus on living your dream and leading from a place of love and what have you, and letting your light guide you forward. It gives people permission on a soul level, because your souls are communicating and connecting in that way, that you too can get through this. Someone has done it before, and maybe you can provide them a path forward by them seeing, oh, you've made it out. So out of the woods, you've made it through. What is coming forth? Like, ask yourself, what newness is emerging as we are in this 9 cycle, and like identifying what is the new thing that you want to birth. Card number 3 says you can radically change your results by shifting your beliefs. Wow. And then the question is, what belief is limiting you? So for you, the message, especially with this universal 9 year, it's all about this reminder of what beliefs do you hold that are limiting you. Acknowledging that, allow that 9 energy to look at how things are playing out that need to be reviewed. Again, it's that life review. Review the limiting beliefs that you have that are impacting your life. Then card number 4, it says the how is in the now. And the question is, what has your intuition been trying to tell you? For you all, the message I get is that there's something that's speaking to you, and there's a need to pause and breathe. Get in silence. I'm getting like, be in silence and get into your own head. Get into your heart and then connect to your head. Always connect to your heart before you get to your head, because as I like to say, the mind is a dangerous place to be all on its own without having the map, which is your heart. It will guide and navigate you. And so the how is in the now. So if you're having a question like, how do I move forward now? Is to listen to your intuition. It's been trying to speak to you, but if there's so much going on, you're taking in so much. Because when you look at this card, her eyes are closed and she's kind of looking down to her heart. There's a need to be with yourself and reflect and listen to yourself. Listen to yourself and trust yourself. I think the message here too is that it's really important and impactful to be able to discern that it's your intuition speaking to you. And getting in silence, you get to understand, and you clearly hear, and you start to recognize, oh, that's my intuition. So those are the messages for the Pick a Card readings. I hope those provided you some sense of hope at this time. And in closing, I just wanted to do a quick check-in, in just reminding everyone it's okay to feel how you feel. It's the politicking is politicking, and the reason why it's really impacting the politics at this time is it's just the way of the energy. moving from 2024 into this year, I really saw it. I really saw it, especially the energetics that were around the election of last year. But I'm going to leave it there. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and be sure to hit the bell notification so you receive notifications of future videos on my channel. And thanks so much for watching. And let me know, how would you rate your current fulfillment of the 9-year? Like, is it very chaotic, being 9, or are you at a 1? All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.